On BHL, Queen Sugar Aftershow, we are covering Season 2, Episode 11, Fruit of the Flower. Stay tuned for more.
I don't know who's gonna kiss you when I'm gone.
What's up, Queen Sugar Aftershow fans? We are back. We have a full panel. So happy that everyone is here. My name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
Hey guys, so good to be back. It is Miss Candy Marie. You can find me on Instagram at Miss Candy Marie and on Twitter at Sweet Kendor TV.
And it's Anjy Scates. You can find me on Twitter at Anjy_Skates and on the gram at Big_Anj.
And what's up, guys? It's your girl Kels. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at The Urban Gypsy LA. We are so glad to be back.
Yes. Oh my God, so much to talk about. This was like a really pivotal episode.
Wow. We've been waiting for this episode.
Got some answers. We saw a little bit more of Ralph Angel's childishness, but let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about Ralph Angel and Darla. I want to get into that and kind of get rid of it because I'm just so over Ralph Angel. What did you guys think about him, start to finish in this episode?
Okay, you know what? Listen, I'm just gonna say this. Ralph Angel, you're fine, okay, damn it. And I'm just, I can't. That can't stand in the way of my opinion anymore. Because I was getting very annoyed with your little fine self today because simply I just feel like he's just so emotional. I agree with you guys from last season. He is so emotional.
But not emotional, but like whiny.
Whiny. Yeah. Oh my God. I just want him to suck it the hell up and just be a damn man.
Right. I think I get frustrated too because when I look at him, I'm like, ooh, look at Kofi. But then when he started acting like Ralph Angel, I'm like, Kofi, get it together. But Ralph Angel is just very emotional. Never he can't think about other people. He's very selfish.
He's so selfish. He's demanding. He's childish. He is fine as...
Oh, girl.
He is stunting Darla's growth, and I'm all about Darla. It took a long time for me to be Team Darla, but I trust her now.
Oh, my God.
She is standing in her strength. She is doing what she needs for herself and her family, and Ralph is kind of getting away with that.
And you know what I love? The woman that she is becoming.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
And it took me a while. It took me a while to... I think I probably went through the same thing that people go through with real drug addicts where I just don't trust you until you show me enough.
Right.
And now I'm like, okay, I really love who she is, where she's standing in her own sort of conviction. And she's really convicted to making them work. And he seems like he's got one foot out, one foot in.
Yeah, it seems like he doesn't understand the concept of work in relationships. He even when they went to counseling, it sounds like he just expects it to be like a fairy tale almost. Like, oh, I love you, you love me, we have blue, it's gonna work. But it's like, no, there's a lot of work to be done, especially because she's a recovering addict. There's even way more work to be done.
You can sense her concern because every time they bring up counseling or something that she wants to do, it's like, whatever will make you happy. That's only going to last so long. That's a recipe for disaster. What do you want, Ralph Angel? Because I don't even think you know.
But I will say this, because I still have a soft spot for Ralph Angel. I think
you have a soft spot for Kofi.
I just want to grab that. Okay. His beard. I was going to say that I think that Remy really hit it on the nail. I think that the conversation that Ralph Angel had with Remy, the conversation that Remy had with Ralph Angel, because Remy really did all the talking, but I was glad to see him listen. And I think that allowed us to really see why he's hurting so much, because he is hurting, and I think that, especially in our society, and I think we touched on this last week, we always want men to be so strong and they can't express themselves. And I think that he is a victim of that as well, where he doesn't properly know how to express the things that he's been through in his life.
That's because even with the Remy situation, kind of getting not even scolded, Remy kind of just taught him in class. He was really kind of hurt about that, and we find out that it's because of his past. But at what point does your past no longer determine your future? I get when you're 18 or 16 or 17, living in that sort of the formative years of this is what's shaping me. But now Ralph Angel's a grown man. He's got to be able to say, I was treated badly in the past, but I don't need to go forward with that.
It's those bags.
But when has he ever said it? You have to reveal it in order to heal it. And I feel like he's never had that conversation. He acts out, he lashes out in these ways that, Irk says gets on our nerves because we're really rooting for him. Yeah. But when has he ever dealt with it? I think this is him actually like learning and opening up those wounds and saying, it's a lot of pain there, and that's why I'm acting this way.
Yeah, I think that is the one redeemable thing about him is he does seem to learn and come around at the very end.
But it's
like,
very last
do we have to
minute.
walk you through everything every single time for the rest of
looks
your
that
life?
way.
Yeah.
It's the baby syndrome.
Yes.
Well.
You have some thoughts on that?
Amen, girl. Because I'm an older sibling too, girl. It's definitely girl. It's
I'm
definitely
the baby, and
what do you have to say, Kelly?
I think the babies catch on faster.
Oh.
Well, certainly not in the case
Not
of
in
Queen
this.
Sugar at all. So he needs to hopefully step up because I'm getting tired of Ralph Angel.
Fine ass.
Let's talk a little bit about Nova and the doctor.
Dr. Feel Good.
Yeah. Well, I guess, and we can just really get into it because it really stemmed from, I guess, Nova learning the truth about her mom, her coming around. So that was an emotional. Yeah, let's go to that scene. That was an emotional scene with Nova, Charley, and Lorna.
It was powerful.
Yeah.
It was powerful. It was powerful because for all we've known of Lorna, she's always been the bad guy.
Yeah.
So it was actually, for me, it was very relieving to see her express what really happened and to have Nova sit there and really listen. Like, I feel like the one thing that was consistent in this episode was everybody took the time to listen to each other. Yeah. Usually it's so combative, but they were listening, and I think that, she really opened up, especially she was crying, Nova was crying, and she was living a lie her whole life, And
I was surprised she was willing to listen because Nova normally is not one to listen. She's very closed off, and because she was also caught off guard, I really thought she was just going to storm out. So I'm proud of her for staying and listening, and I still don't really like Lorna, though. Am I the only one?
I don't
like even though I know this,
she's won me over.
Even though I know the story,
too.
Yeah.
I honestly, I feel like she's a woman that has been hurting and has so much pain for so many years, and honestly, like, I've never heard her bring up any other man except for the love of her life. I feel like that's been the love of her life.
We just met her, Lorna, so I'm not giving her the benefit of the doubt 100 just yet. And I think that
She's about to leave. She's about to go back home.
She can go. Like, I'm not gonna miss her. But I think that Nova is being loved by Dr. Feelgood, Dr. Dubois.
Yeah.
And that puts her in a position to be open and to hear the truth. Yeah. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think she would be.
I agree.
Well,
she wants to be loved.
Yeah, and she also sees, I think she sees herself in her mother, in the way that she's behaved, in that whole action of her pushing him away.
And that's why she was willing to listen, because she was like, your mother was a free-spirited woman.
So
she's like,
tell
stop
me more.
too.
Tell me more.
What else do you know?
That's a great point. And I you know what, I didn't even put that together until you just said that. You're so right. So it's like all that she knew of her mother, now it's changed.
And that's what opened her up. And I think it's not even the love of Dr. Dubois that opened her up. It's the uncertainty she feels in that love. That's why she's so vulnerable now, because she's always, like she said, she always knew when the relationship was going to have a beginning and an end. And so now she just feels like, where am I? I'm adrift, which makes her a little bit more open to just listening to people.
And it's like, I'm allowed to be loved.
Right.
Yeah. When is, like, through all of her relationships, like she says, she could always see the end, but when has she really allowed herself to be loved the way that she deserves to be loved?
Yeah, because she's worthy.
And she was with people that you could see you're married, like,
like, there was an end, like, but now it's like, man.
And I love that scene when she was saying, like, I'm tired of trying to figure out how it ends. And it's like, well, in real love, that's not how you're supposed to navigate anyway. If you're trying to figure out how it ends, then it's already over.
But if you're hurt enough, then you start to go, well, I figure this is going to end. Let me try to make it end in a good way so I don't get hurt like I've been in the past. So I think maybe she's coming from a place of, like, pain avoidance.
Right. And now she's just, like, ready to experience and receive love and not look at love as pain necessarily.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I love Lorna because Lorna's kept this story.
You love Lorna?
She's
I
kept
love
this.
her this fast.
Well, think about it.
Too easy.
Think about it.
I like her.
She kept the story under wraps this entire time, knowing they hated her.
That's
Which means she did it just for the
banished her.
Well, no,
She did.
she could have wrote a letter.
She
She
get
could
your
have
ass out of here. Don't you ever
But
come
no,
back.
that's true because
But
she
she-
never told Charley either.
And she did that just to preserve their happiness as a family unit. So, like, she was willing to play the bad guy for all these years to make sure that they were fine. And that, to me, spoke more volumes than, just hearing the actual story.
Man, and you know what else I saw today, too?
Yeah.
It's for the first time I saw Aunt Vi as the bad guy.
We got to talk about that.
We gotta talk about that.
So is Aunt Vi a racist?
No.
Right?
No, I don't
Is
think so.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know.
Let's define
Okay.
what racism is.
Yeah, we have
and
to
then
talk
we
about
can,
this.
Yeah, okay.
So we see that the white friend comes over already. When she walked in the face, I was like, that's my mom's face when I have friends over. So
Exactly. That would have been my face too.
Why you got this man in my damn
Right,
house?
Well,
sitting on
right.
my couch.
But this white man.
You didn't even call me.
Yeah. And so she brought up the fact that he was white, and then you hear in this conversation between her and Nova that part of her animosity towards Lorna was merely the fact that she was white. She's like, not the fact that she may have stolen Ernest, was because she was white.
Mm-hmm.
So does that make her a racist?
No.
I think it's everything that she's endured along the way from white people.
Yeah.
Like, she has been conditioned to not like white people simply because of how they treated her. And
Does that
the
make you a
history.
racist? That's kind of the reasoning.
Okay, so I'll say this, and I'm gonna reveal just a little bit personal, but growing up, multiracial, my mom's side is all white, and they hated black people. They didn't even like me and my brothers and sisters because we were half black, so they didn't accept us. So that, because of that, I always felt like I had something to prove to white people because of that lack of acceptance, and then also like the black people that I grew up around, I heard stories from them about how badly they were treated by white people. So I think that sometimes if this is all that you know of something, especially if it's negative, you tend to push back, or and you do that as a way to kind of protect yourself.
Right.
So I feel like that could potentially be part of the case.
I agree with you, and I think that we have to structurally define what racism is. I feel like you have to be in a position to exert power in order to be racist. I think that maybe what she did and how she thinks is prejudice, for sure. But let's not negate the fact that her history and what informs her prejudice against white people, like that shit's real, okay? And a lot of time people like to just, that's old. She says she comes from a different generation,
and that's
so
true.
her experiences have informed how she is and the way she is, and if she don't want him in her home, that's fine. I don't think she's racist.
Wait. So an old white person still uses the N-word today because they come from a different generation, but they're not racist. They actually like black people. Oh,
You said an old white person.
Yeah, I'm saying
systematically, structurally, they are in a position of power.
But when we're talking about person to person,
Interpersonal racism.
This is Vi's home. Is she not the woman in power? This is her house. She's the one that removes him.
But that's not a systematic thing. That's just her personal house.
That's a prejudice.
So in that scenario, you're saying no black person and no minority could ever really be racist.
Not in that position that Vi is in. No, you can be prejudiced. You can be prejudiced. You can have things that are unfounded.
That you are like judging them based on. You can have judgments based on their race, but you can't be racist because we don't have the power to do it. Like, if we're going by definition, you know what I'm saying?
I guess.
Well, you don't agree. But
I was gonna say I would have to disagree. I would just have to say any time that you can discriminate against another person solely because of their race, and you have the power to stop them from doing something they could otherwise do, then I think that's racist.
If you can control your environment to have the people around you that you want to have around you, and it just so happens that your history with white people, it's justifiably to say this, okay, I don't think that's racist. That's just
But even
me.
just in the dislike for Lorna, I thought,
Yeah, and honestly, I feel that she kind of realized that a little bit, because at the end she kind of did open up a little bit when she was just saying that the hurt goes both ways.
Yeah.
At the end, because I think that she realized in that moment that maybe some of her prejudice was simply because she was white. Like a lot of times, like Lorna really didn't give her an entire reason to not like her, except for the fact that she loved her brother.
And
That's
she
it.
and Vi knew that Ernest
And
had
Vi
broken
knew
up,
that.
and
Exactly.
the Trudy had rejected him when he came back. So
And we saw that, especially when she revealed that to Nova.
Yeah.
She really didn't have a reason to like this woman. Other than the fact she loved her brother.
yeah.
So individually, she came around, and I still don't think that as an individual, Auntie Vi is racist.
I don't think she's racist.
at
I
all.
think she don't like white people. But I don't know if that makes you racist. Like,
don't
am I
think
being?
so.
I don't know.
I-
If you have like a history with white people where you are being oppressed and you're not able to get a job and you're being like all these different microaggressions
But
over time, I feel like if you start to feel like, oh well, I would just prefer them not to be in my house, or I don't necessarily want them to. I think
it starts to border on racism whenever it becomes a them. Whenever you start to say all. That's when it's racism. When you're not saying, oh, well, he works at this company, I know the company culture is bad, so that's different. But if you're going to say all of one thing, that's when you talk about, for me, that's what racism
Well,
means.
as a viewer,
Yeah.
this man, now this particular white man that was in her home,
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
Wait,
So, like, why you all up in Hollywood's business? No, you asked way too many questions, Barbara Walters, all up in Hollywood's business. Like, what are you doing?
honestly, if he was white or black, just his demeanor,
I
I
don't
wouldn't have
like
wanted him
it.
in my
Oh,
house
okay, and that's-
personally.
yeah, that's
like,
different.
more so
That's
his
different.
demeanor than his race. I would have
So you
felt
saying the
like,
way
who
he
is this
looks?
person? Yeah, judgment, prejudice.
But he was a nice guy though. He was a nice
Seemingly,
guy.
they always
And then you
are on
also
the
have
surface.
to trust Hollywood's judgment. This is the man that you love. You know damn well that this man is not going to bring somebody in your house that's going to disrespect you.
Exactly.
So it's like you know what I'm saying?
that's when you trust the person you're with.
Exactly.
And I think that's what he felt. Because you get that from Hollywood, where he felt like you just became my mom, my parent, and we're supposed to be like together, have
We're
mutual
supposed to be
respect.
partners.
Yeah. So, well, I like that one. We got Auntie Vi would have hated Lorna if she was blue, and I do think that's true too. I think she just hated the fact that
This
Lorna had
woman.
broken up, or she felt she'd interrupted that relationship.
And she just so happened to be a white
no,
woman.
but she did admit it. Do I have to pick a reason not to like her because she's white or that? So
And it definitely doesn't help the time frame they were living in. You know, like back
yeah,
then,
yeah.
and what was that, like the 60s?
yeah.
Yeah, and they're in the South.
And
like,
there's already-
that shit is not.
And already you get the sense that where they are is about 20
Nobody
years behind
accepted it.
now.
Yeah, it's
Nobody
now.
accepted
So
it.
back then.
Let's keep all of these equations in. Let's not
When we-
negate that when we call Auntie Vi, when we're talking
racist.
about is she racist or not. Let's keep all of those in
Look,
because they matter. Context
If
matters.
she was avoiding some people outside, or she was but once Hollywood brought in someone that she should trust because she should trust him, that's when I was like, I think.
But then I think a point that she brought about it being generational is true, because I feel like if you were to even, like, let's say, so I had a white friend and I'm in the South and they're inviting me to their grandmother's house. I want them to let the grandmother know that they're bringing their black friend over, and whether or not they consider themselves racist or not, I think that because of all the things that have happened, it's just one of those things. Like, you kind of need to warn them, because there's so many different layers to it. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
So I think it's
agree.
one of those, like, yeah, you trust Hollywood, but Auntie Vi needed that, like, give me a warning, give me a heads up. Maybe I'm not going to come home right away. Like, you can have your friend over. I don't want to see him. Like, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got what. Is Auntie Vi, is she uncomfortable around white people or when they're in her house?
It seemed like just when they're in her house.
I think it's when they're in their house, because we've seen her, like,
in
have
her
conversations with the
And
white
we've
guy
never
who came to do
questioned
the contract with her.
Like,
She don't got no problem with
That's what
that.
you sound like right
Listen,
now.
there were a lot of Trump supporters that I interacted with before Trump was elected, and I
this
found
one
out
black
later
friend.
they were racist.
Right, that's true.
So it's the same thing where it's like she might interact with white people, but if you're
It's
that,
not the same, but okay.
but you know what I mean, where like you tease out the racism and you may not see it on a day-to-day basis. So but yeah, I guess we'll have to revisit that.
It's such an interesting conversation, because these are conversations we're still having today.
Yeah.
You know, especially with everything that's going on. Like,
It almost feels like out of time, but
wow,
we're
but
still.
it's
no,
not.
like when you
Yeah.
talk about the generational gap, like, we still doing the same shit though.
Right.
There really isn't one.
And I mean, and
No.
even saying, like, it's not racism, it's prejudice. It's like we're saying it as if being prejudiced
It's
isn't
all
just,
right.
it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, it's okay to be, no, it's wrong
it's
for her
not.
to be
Yeah.
prejudiced. Like,
Right.
but let's call it that, opposed to necessarily racism. Like, she shouldn't be prejudiced. Like, she
No.
doesn't know him.
But maybe that's been the problem, is that we've gone away from using the word racism and not calling it what it is. Because I think there was a point where people saw racism as, oh, I'm literally lynching black folks. That's not what it is anymore. You know, racism can be different, and it's updated for today's society. And so just because you're not out lynching people or calling them the N-word when you see them doesn't mean you're not racist. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing for Auntie Vi could be true. Because she's not maybe calling white devil and kicking him out the house like directly doesn't mean she may not be racist. But I did see for the first time like a character trait that just kind of caught me by surprise because she seems so wise and so progressive.
So you saw some of her human side, the other side where like she doesn't know everything and she's not perfect. Like she has her hang-ups too.
Because I feel like the last time we saw her really kind of off base was when she was a little insecure about Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And she kind of got over that. And she's been pretty even keeled till now.
Right. But you know what we do need to talk about?
What girl?
Was when Charley Charley stood up to Lorna about the Brown Sugar Festival and how Remy was like,
Yeah, I mean,
Remy was feeling that.
I love that whole demeanor. And
that was amazing.
And Charley's like, she's standing up, but not even. She's just being present, I guess. Right?
And she was so passionate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And her mother tried her best because her mother is such a businesswoman.
Yeah.
And I see where she gets it from. Like, I see where Charley gets her strengths from. But it was so nice to see her be passionate about the people. Yeah. Because we saw a more humanistic side of Charley, which is something that we don't always see consistently. So it was nice for her to say, you know what? The people in this community need this festival.
Yeah. And
I was just going to say, I like the Charley that Charley is when Lorna is around. I'll give Lorna that. Like, she's bold and she was inventive to come up with her festival for our own, the black community. I like the Charley that she is.
Because I think Lorna has always supported Charley, even if she didn't understand where she was coming really from, but she's always supported her. And that's what I liked, and that was, I think, a different you might have between a white person who is supportive of black people and a black person where Lorna didn't really see like exactly why you needed to have this part. Like she kind of gets it, but she's like, "Come on, look at the books, look at the numbers."
Right.
But to Charley, it's a deeper thing because it's going to do more for the community.
That's right. They can have good intentions, but they don't always understand.
Right. And you know what was really, really cool too was how, and some people may not agree with this, but how Lorna is opening her up to a whole nother like mindset in reference to business. Yeah. For example, that farmer that has 20,000 acres. Do you know what that could do for the mill?
Yeah, and she's like, you have to. You have to go and reach out to the community. Just because they're white, you can't say no. I don't want to mill with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he wants to. I mean, you could tell that he's open to the idea of working with them, which is going to be great for business.
It was nice to see like some other friendly white faces on the show because whenever they present them, it seems like, oh no, the Landrys and it's about to go. I thought he was going to insult her when he came on the show. I was like, oh, here we go.
Right. I was like, he got ulterior motives. Can't trust them.
But see, look, you feel like you can't trust. I'm just kidding. But if you're in the South, though, you're like, you're not sure. You're
Yeah, you got to vet them.
Right.
So. What do you guys think about Hollywood and Vi? We had some really beautiful moments to their relationship. And then obviously some worrisome moments in terms of the way she's treating him. But I love the beautiful moment. We love that one, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Which one?
So when Hollywood says to her, I'm worried about you because, the potentially fibromyalgia or whatever it might be. He said, can't a man just worry about his woman? Can't a man just worry about his woman?
They are definitely relationship goals. Like, they make me think that, man, I could really get a man. These days, because it just seems like it's impossible.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like people don't believe in love anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, in our culture, in the music, and it's like, man, like, I want that. Like, that's relationship goals for me.
I agree.
And it was viable. What she said? I'm going to take you in the room and show
prove
you.
to you I'm all right. Prove to you I'm all right. No generational issues there. I'll tell you. Well, you know what? We're running out of time, so let's go into our predictions.
You guys start.
Well,
Miss Candy Marie.
Y'all know I'm nasty. So I love love and relationships, and I just want everybody just to have fun and be sexual and enjoy themselves. But I really, really want Remy and Charley to get together. I feel like their relationship is starting to grow, and he's starting to see another side of her that he was actually like second guessing before. So I really want to see that relationship blossom a little more. What else? Lorna. I don't know. It's just I'm very sympathetic for Lorna. I am. And it was really good for me to see them understand her, and I do hope that she comes back a little more into the season.
I'll go ahead. Not a prediction, I guess a hope. I really want to see Lorna embraced by the family, because I think she does have a different way of thinking. I think she is valuable, and I think that she comes with a really good intentions, a good heart. But I think Hollywood's going to end up working for the Landrys. We saw at the end of that he was not going to, in terms of trying to leave, but I think he's going to end up just like, under the table, the money, his buddy, so I think he's going to kind of just be like, try to do it on the low, but it's going to get found out, and that might ruin Hollywood and vibe.
Yeah.
Ralph Angel.
Moment of silence.
Yeah. It's like I want them to like just do an exorcism on him. I feel like he's got some sort of like childlike demon that just refuses to grow up.
One good thing good about you, Ralph Angel.
But I do see Ralph Angel and Darla hitting some more bumps on the road, and I think at some point they will split. It just seems like it's constant that they're having to like mend an issue and then be good again.
Grow up.
Yeah. And so I don't think that's going to be changing overnight. How about you guys?
Yeah, I definitely know that Darla's gonna boss up and leave. She's been doing that, and that's a current running prediction that I had from last season. I definitely think that it's gonna be some more beef with Hollywood and working for the Landrys and that whole thing. And I do definitely think that Lorna is going to play a quintessential part in bridging that or getting over that obstacle with the Bordelons. I think she's going to play an integral part in that for sure.
Right. I kind of agree with that. I think Lorna might stick around and be that piece of the puzzle that kind of like lets them, just kind of that hidden piece of the puzzle that they weren't prepared for as far as with the Landrys.
We need allies.
Yeah. And then I think something is going to happen with Hollywood and him working for the Landrys. I don't know if he's actually going to work for them, and I don't think there will be an end to him and Unvibe, because I believe in that union. But I do feel like it might end with Darla and Ralph Angel. And I feel like the family is going to be on Darla's side, because Ralph Angel is just immature.
He goofy.
And we do have some predictions in the chat. Do you guys think Nova is pregnant? It's the second time I've seen someone mention she might be pregnant.
No, I thought Darla might be pregnant though.
I did think she might be pregnant. She looks like she could be. I don't think Nova's pregnant.
We could use a new child. So
but I do see Nova and her boo getting it in a lot in the future.
I like that.
We're here for it.
Y'all know I'm here all the way for it.
Someone said, I think Darla will move out of state for a job opportunity once she reunites with her parents. I think her parents are going to come around, too.
I think so, too. And they're going to put another wedge in between that relationship.
They keep bringing it up.
I think there will be some sort of... Well, I think we'll see them. We'll see an interaction with them. But if they didn't come around for the wedding and like...
Well, the wedding hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but she sent them the news and they haven't responded, so I don't know.
But that's the big question.
Daddy gonna show up, and we're gonna see like how she's playing that whole relationship dynamic out again.
And it would be
you had the mom was like,
and it would be interesting to see a little bit more of her like backstory and upbringing, like know who she came from.
Because they've been revealing little by little every episode about her parents.
Yeah, because we're more interested in who she is now that she's all stable and we rooting for each other.
And I was surprised that she said her mom didn't really stand up for herself, because I'm seeing her. She seems very strong now that she's recovering. So I'm like, okay, that's an interesting dynamic I didn't expect.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to her holding on to that recovery so strong.
Yeah,
because she knows what it means if she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Blue, no Ralph Angel.
Right.
So there's Star, and that was not a great place to go. Well, guys, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Again, my name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
My name is Miss Candy Marie, and you can find me on Instagram at Miss Candy Marie and on Twitter at Sweet Kendora TV.
And I am Anjy Scates. You can find me on Twitter at Anjy_Skates and on the gram at big_Anj.
And it's your girl Kels. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at The Urban Gypsy LA.
See you next week, guys.
Bye, guys.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African-American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.